Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael. Welcome to this evening's meditation practice. Anybody here for the first time? All right. Glad to see everybody back. We have a few announcements before we get started. If you haven't already, please remember to silence your cell phones and put your phones away so we can be fully present for the talk and the meditation. If you must use your phone, please do so outside the meditation hall. We invite you to join Geshe Lobsang Tenzin for our weekly Medicine Buddha practice in person and online at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. Next week, for our Tuesday evening public talk at 7 p.m., Geshe Lobsang will speak on 8 verses of training the mind, verse 8. On Wednesdays at 7 p.m., the monks conduct evening prayers for His Holiness the Dalai Lama's long life and for other teachers. On Thursdays at 4:30 p.m., the Drepung Loseling monks conduct the Protector Puja for smooth journeys, successive interviews, medical treatments, new business, etc. The monks will be offering traditional filling of statues and stupas, followed by a sacred consecration ceremony in person and via our streaming channels on Tuesday, December 9th at 6:30 p.m. We invite you to drop off or ship your statues and stupas used for personal devotion and practice to be filled and consecrated by the monks. We also have a limited selection available in the gift shop. Statue drop-off and ship receiving deadline is Tuesday, December 2nd. The Venerable Monks of Drepung Loseling Monastery and the Mystical Arts of Tibet Tour will be performing 2 powerful ceremonial healing pujas. On November 25th, Medicine Buddha Puja for the physical and mental health and well-being. And then on December 2nd, a Green Tara Puja for protection, healing, and prosperity. You're invited to submit names for those not present. Our annual year-end retreat will be held on Freedom from the 4 Attachments, running from December 27th through the 30th. It will consist of 3 sessions each day and is open to all, free for current members. As a reminder, on the weekends in particular, please not park on the grass along the driveways behind the building. If the lot back there is full, overflow parking can be found via Skyland Drive at the elementary school. Only access the school parking lot via Skyland Drive and walk down the hill to our site. If you're interested in becoming a member, support our ongoing programs, and take advantage of benefits like discounts on courses and retreats, applications are available in the library. You can also register online. There's a donation box near the entrance to this room. Your generous support helps us to continue to offer programs and services like this to our Atlanta community and to those around the world through our online programs. Now, if you would, please stand as we invite our teacher, Geshe Lobsang, to come in for this evening's talk.
Good evening. How are you doing? Staying warm? Yes? It's getting cold. So welcome to the 5th of the 6 evenings on 8 verses on mind training, this short text that we have been going through. This evening we will cover 2 stanzas, 5th and the 7th. Last time we did the 4th and the 6th. Today we will do 5th and the 7th. And the next Tuesday will be the last stanza, 8th stanza. But before we do this, shall we do some chanting? You like doing chanting? Yes? Wonderful. That is good. Let's do some chanting. And we will chant Om Mani Padme Hum later. And so we will do a little meditation towards end. But here we will recite the mantra of Heart Sutra, mantra of wisdom. Tadyatha gate gate paragate parasamgate buddhi swaha. What do you do when you are reciting this? What is this recitation about? Tadyatha gate gate paragate parasamgate buddhi swaha. What are we doing? Reciting this mantra. Singing, joy, some feels good. It should feel good, yes. That's important. If it feels bad, we don't want to do that. But beyond just a certain experience, feeling of joy, comfort, ease. It's a way to reinforce our commitment. You know, like how the basketball players, when they are playing and they have this self-talk, you know, that you're really good, you know, like this. They have to kind of convince them that they're going to win and that we're good, you know, in this. In this reciting the mantra, when you are reinforcing what? We are reinforcing our deep commitment, if that resonates with you, for wisdom. Wisdom that can take us, that can heal or liberate us from our ordinary illnesses, emotional, physical. Wisdom that can free us from deeper conditioning of the suffering. Wisdom that can free us from the roots of suffering, ignorance. Wisdom that can clear all the obscurations of the mind so that we can become Bodhi, enlightened. Parasamgati buddhi. So wisdom that takes us beyond usual struggles of emotional tensions, issues, suffering. Wisdom that can take us deeper karmic and emotional issues beyond that. Wisdom that can take us beyond the roots of the suffering, that is ignorance. Wisdom that can take us beyond even the deepest of kind of duality, distorted perception of duality. Going beyond that is the full enlightenment. At every step, our lives can be better. Every step of that going beyond this obscuration, we can be source of well-being for others. Yeah? So that's what, of course, when you are reciting, it has many layers of meaning, of course. In some ways, the heart, the mantra of Heart Sutra, like the wisdom that taking that very heart of that wisdom, that is the wisdom of reality. So that is where we want to cultivate at a level where it's not just intellectual, but it is felt, experience, part of accumulation, gati. Wisdom that becomes deeper, that the certain coarse duality of the object and the us, and that goes beyond, path of preparation. Wisdom that takes you in the direct experience of reality, the intuitive, non-conceptual path of seeing. Wisdom that can take you to further, deeper states that erodes, that clears the various layers of the deeper obscurations. Wisdom that can completely clear that to take you to the path of no more learning, omniscient state. 5 paths in Buddhist training called the path of preparation, the path of accumulation, path of preparation of the engagement, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of no more learning. That's what that progression is, like love, compassion and so forth are important, but wisdom is what that clears the deeper obscurations. So that's why it's called the Heart Sutra, mantra of Heart Sutra. Heart of the teachings is the wisdom of reality. And this mantra is a way for us to evoke that conviction, that resolve, as we are reciting, to reinforce such commitment, resolve, for us to explore this wisdom, take this all levels so that we are fully enlightened. And that purpose is to not just that we are in a better place, but when we are free from certain obscuration like that, we can't be a source of well-being for others. So that's the reason. Shall we do this few mantras in that spirit? Tadya thangate ngate paraikate parasamgate bodhi swaha. Tadya thangate ngate paraikate parasamgate bodhi soha. Tadyatha gate gate paragate 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 parasamgate bodhi soha. The wisdom, when it is conjoined with love, compassion, that becomes even the stronger wisdom that erodes, that transforms the deep layers of our negativities, obscurations of the mind. So in that sense, let's cultivate the 4 immeasurables: love, compassion, the joy, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachment and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachment and hatred. May all beings have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they find the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from attachment and hatred. So let's see the 8 verses. Shall we recite once together? Once again, 8 verses. Eventually, I want you to have this by heart. If we keep reciting, we will have it by heart. Yeah? Then it's mnemonic device. It's available when you need it. Let's recite. By thinking of all sentient beings as more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, for accomplishing the highest aim, I will always hold them dear. Whenever I am in the company of others, I will regard myself as the lowest among all, and from the depth of my heart, cherish others as supreme. In my every action, I will watch my mind, and the moment destructive emotions arise, I will confront them strongly and avert them, since they will hurt both me and others. Whenever I see ill-natured beings, or those overwhelmed by heavy misdeeds or suffering, I will cherish them as something rare, as though I have found a priceless treasure. Whenever someone out of envy does me wrong by attacking or belittling me, I will take defeat upon myself and give the victory to others. Even when someone I have helped, or in whom I have placed great hopes, mistreats me very unjustly, I will view that person as true spiritual teacher. In brief, directly or indirectly, I will offer help and happiness to all my mothers, and secretly take upon myself all their hurt and suffering. I will learn to keep all these practices untainted by thoughts of 8 worldly concerns. May I realize all things as illusion, and without attachment gain freedom from bondage. So 8 verses, very short, very profound, and very difficult to practice like this. Let's take a look at the 5th verse. Whenever someone out of envy, it says that in the Tibetan, does me wrong by attacking or belittling me, I will take defeat upon myself and give the victory to others. How easy it is. It's not easy. Even someone just make a little criticism, that just really hurt us, right? That. But someone, out of envy and like that, attack us, belittle us. Lo-Jong masters, their aspiration is that they rise to a state where they can take the defeat on themselves and give again the victory to others. I mean, it will require a tremendous degree of compassion for others, to be able to do that. But not a naive kind of the idiot compassion, like that. It's not a naive, somebody is criticizing you, and you said, okay, take the victory, and I take the loss, not in that sense. It's very important to keep in mind that, does that mean that we just need to take someone's abuse, someone's injustice, like that? It doesn't mean that we just need to become a doormat, and just let them take everything, and then we just end up with, all the losses and like that. It's actually not useful, like that, being that is if it is just coming from the meekness, weakness, we can't do that, but okay, let them take, I won't do anything. No, this comes from an inner strength, inner courage. The compassionate heart is a measure, sign of courage. That's what His Holiness the Dalai Lama, often talks about. The compassion, as we often misunderstand, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, he said that compassion is beautiful, but it's weak. Understood kindness, compassion as a sign of weakness. That actually, it manifests in many of the philosophies. In the West and East, probably, I don't know what, I haven't seen in the East though, to be honest. But in the West, yes, there's a whole line of philosophers who do see greed is good, that it's kind of tying it to evolutionary spirit. The stronger wins, weak has to perish. That's how the nature. It's a natural law, so you have to be strong. That can become quite extreme. Extreme individualism is a sign of that. But then there are many great philosophers, both East and West. If you take the scientists like Darwin, father of evolutionary science, he actually saw what he called the sympathy. It's the same thing, compassion, sympathy, that in his words. He saw that this is one of the strongest social instinct. It is the sympathy when it becomes tender and more diffused, covering other. This is where, as a society, as a group, we flourish. Compassion, sympathy, kindness is seen as a strength, like that. And other philosophers, many. Schopenhauer, the Western philosopher, he grounded the very ethics in compassion, while Kant grounded in duty. It's the duty. Schopenhauer grounding it in the compassion, like that. So, compassion, if we misunderstand that to be just being nice, just being not opposing like that, that's not compassion. That is what in Tibetan called Nyingje Golok, perverse compassion. Or it's Chogyam Tungpa, one of the masters who wrote a lot in the 70s, 80s here. He called it the stupid compassion, idiot compassion, not the real compassion. That real compassion comes from this tenderness that you feel for others. Tenderness. That. How many of you are parents here? Raise your hand if you are a parent. Okay. So when you're a child, a little child, that baby, newborn baby, like that, is unable to sleep, maybe crying in the middle of the night. Did you say, oh, that's so annoying, let him cry? Or there was something that brought you to, soothe and put the child to sleep. Even it kept you awake for an hour, maybe sometimes even 2. Did you do it begrudgingly? It's just a little baby is so annoying, so bad. Why did I have this baby? Or there is actually that attending to this precious little being, comforting, it actually makes you happy. That. If the child, if you are a child, is doing something bad, do you say that, oh, this is good, I love you, go ahead and do it, take the drugs, be bully and that hurt your little sister, go ahead and do that? Or do you prevent the child from doing that out of love, not hatred and like that? It's a totally different thing, that actions can be led by our greed, anger, deceptive mind to kind of manipulate and like that, or it can come from that warm-heartedness, tender feeling for the child and like that. This is actually one of the title of one of the books. Can I give him my eyes? There's a title of that, a book. That. What is his name? The Northern Ireland, person who His Holiness calls his hero. He has come here in Atlanta several times. I'm blanking on his name right now. Getting old. What is his name? Do you know? Anyone? Yeah.
Blind.
Yeah.
Geshe, you mean the blind speaker?
Yeah.
I remember watching the video once. I just don't remember what the name was.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh? Richard Moore. Richard Moore. Thank you. You are younger than I am. Richard Moore. Richard Moore, grew in the Northern Ireland, went back in the 70s, that when there was a real tension between Catholics and the, British there. And as he was going home, as a kid, 10 years old, from home to school on the crossing the playground, the British soldiers, they had shot rubber bullets, and then one of them hit him on the forehead between eyes, blinded him. He was taken to the hospital. When his father was called to come, his father arrived, and the doctors told his father, your child is not going to be able to see for the rest of his life. It has damaged the optic nerve or whatever. That. What came out of his mouth, father's, spontaneously on that very moment, can I give him my eyes? That's what came out of his mouth. Can I give him my eyes? I think you those who are parents, you would resonate with that. I mean, if you think that your little baby, struggle, you would want happily to take that on you. And if child can see, we hear that. It's not just kind of nice. That is the gut feeling. That is the deep, coming from that tenderness to the child. Can I give him my eyes? Father, in that moment, he's exchanging his sight with the child's blindness. taking the blindness on himself, giving the sight to the child. Giving the, it's kind of, it's not a victory or loss in that sense, but struggle that what is suffering, that to take, to give the other child that. But it is, of course, easy if, that kind of response is easy when it is your child, that somebody who's precious, that you have this deep, tender, warm feeling for the child, endearing feeling. That's somebody who is generally your neighbor or the co-worker, somebody who is attacking you and belittling you. How are you going to give you the victory to them? And take, if in that moment to say, okay, that's fine, like that, you can take the loss, not just kind of on the surface, but really, if one has that tenderness towards this person, if that we can have the tenderness. So love and compassion fundamentally come down to how deeply we feel with that tender, warm-hearted way, endearing way towards others. So the Lo-Jong teachings is not saying that, like just pretend like you are doing. Lo-Jong teachings provide the methods, the way to transforming our hearts, our emotions, our feelings towards others who are, who maybe doing this kind of nasty, saying nasty thing or that, like that. If we come from that place of tenderness for them, then you can see that if that's really, that you to really come from that tenderness, understanding that where they are coming from, what kind of vulnerable position they are, how they are in this situation, in this mean or bitter or, judgmental or however way you see, as they shaped by his or her circumstances, like that. No one is born mean. Actually, there's a book called Born to be Good. The more and more science, social sciences, evolutionary biology and like that, is showing that actually our benevolent, our this compassionate impulses are probably deeper than our selfish impulses, for social beings like us. And it shows up in children. You have the little children. If you even at 3 months old babies, you can show them these little puppets. 3 puppets. One of them is trying to climb this little hill, like that. Like this climbing hill. Maybe this puppet is a round shape, green color or like that. And there is that other one, like triangle or like that, red color like that. As this puppet is about to climb here, throws down, hurting the child. And then this little 3-month baby is looking at this. And then this tries to again, this round puppet trying to climb again. And this time there is a square one. It comes and it helps them get on the hill, helping. What do you think this 3-month-old baby, which one they like? Square one, the one who is helping, kinder. It shows at 5 months, it shows at 9 months, it shows at 14 months, it shows at 18 months. There's a lab, baby lab at the Yale University. Paul Bloom and his wife, they have baby lab there. They study little children behaviors are like that, looking at. It shows that little babies, like even at 3 age, they actually, they can't express, I like this or like that, but they gaze at the helping one more. They move their gaze away from the bad one, this, harmful one. And then by the 5 months, they can choose, if you present, which one do you like? They go for the good one, the helping one, kind one. By age 1.5 or 17, 18 months, these researchers can pretend like that they are carrying something, and then just there's a little shelf that they really want to get there, but they cannot do this, like that, struggling like that. And this little baby, this 18-month child sitting there watching, and goes and opens the door. If they are, like looking that there's something and that they want to get rid of another thing, they're struggling with that, they go and pick up and give it to them. Helping behavior. Born to be good. That our compassionate impulse is fundamental to us as social beings. It is there. It's just that that self-focus is there. I mean, both of these are there. That's why that Native American story, when it tells that the grandfather is telling his grandchild that I have 2 wolves fighting in my chest, in my heart. One is very aggressive, other one is very caring. And the little child, they ask, which one which one wins? The aggressive one or the kind one? Which wolf do you think would win? Kind one. Really? Thank you. Yeah. So the answer the grandfather gives is that the one you feed to, whichever you feed to, that's going to get stronger, right? So we do have, both altruistic and selfish, dispositions. Of course, that's. But if we can attend to those benevolent one, that's actually deeper, perhaps, in our social animals. That's what the scientists are telling us, like the cooperation instead of competition may have been the more, primary factor for us to survive as group animals. Cooperation among each other. Yeah, with the out-group they fight, but the in-group they band together and cooperate and trust with each other, and reciprocity is there. Like the in-group cooperation is ubiquitous in animals. That is true in us also. It's also true that we have this in-group bias, so with those who are outside with other them, so then it becomes harder. But as a social animals, long, age of this evolution, those parts that were most crucial for us to survive and flourish, those are preserved. So that's why when Darwin says that sympathy is the strongest instinct in social instinct in social animals. Sympathy, the strongest instinct, social instinct that we have. Do you believe that? Yeah, I mean, the science is saying that, the research, the contemplative traditions have been, tapping into this to help beings. So, the thing is that, when we think about the compassion, to the extent that even when someone's behavior and like that where we can forgive, not only forgive, that in the certain circumstance, that, let them take the victory and like that. It comes from that tenderness, warm-heartedness. That doesn't mean that you need to condone their injustice, harmful actions and like that. Forgiving is not forgetting, that's what the Dalai Lama says. You have to oppose the harmful actions without hating the person. So how do we go about that? That's why Lo-Jong teachings are very, very, very profound, and we need this today more than ever. In our society we need these teachings. That how do we promote this sense of connectedness, meaningful connection, that where others become somewhat important. That yesterday or the day before yesterday there was an article in New York Times, by Tom Friedman, who writes the column in New York Times. I mean, he has been writing this since 1981, apparently, on all kind of subjects, environment to the political, issues, to new technologies that are coming out, AI, artificial intelligence and all these things. He writes all this, right? So, in this latest article, just a couple of days ago, he's writing. It's actually really, really good. You should read that. That. An article where he is talking about, he hasn't really kind of thought much before, but now as he thinks about what should we call this present age? What age it is? Technological age, or to what kind of age? Industrial? Some environmentalists or the anthropologists, called several decades ago, we are in Anthropocene age. Anthropocene age? No? Anthropology. Anthros are humans, right? Anthropocene age is the age where human species have such an impact on our world. Whether it will doom or survive, it depends on us. Anthropocene is one species that humans have really have the power to destroy this earth. What we have been doing with fulfilling our greed, destroying environments, and like that, global warming, the climate change, all kind of pollutions that are going, the ozone layers depleting, and all those things related to human actions. That particular part, like the green gases that we are, our consumption, and that how we're doing that. It's one species, not the dogs and cats or the birds, it's the human species can destroy this earth. That's where we are. The Anthropocene age, that anthro meaning the humans, Now he is asking, that this particular age, what should we say? What should we call it? And he is someone who, for his column, that he has all kinds of the leading figures in the world, from AI to all different fields, medicine and so forth and so on, leading figures that he takes as his mentors, that whenever he has to write these major issues, and then he reaches them to pick up their brain and that, to make sense of what's happening. So he has been doing this. He has come to define our age today, what he called the Polycene epoch, or the age. Poly mean many, multiple, age. Polycene. Why Polycene? Our binary ways of looking at, like superpowers to Soviet and United States, or the China and the United States, or the, that they're looking at the East and West, and all this kind of looking at the binary ways, they don't function anymore, like that. World we live today is so interconnected, interdependent, whether we want it or not. Only way for us to really ensure that our grandchildren and children and grandchildren have this earth, that in a way that they can flourish, is to have a real transformation of our hearts and minds, where we can hold multiple choices. Not us and others. America can have different opinion from China, but still work with China. Instead of, they may become more superpower and then eliminating like that. What he is pointing is that we have to understand this. If anything, today's world is highly, highly complex. Complexity is the name of the game right now. Whether economies, like that, all. So we have to find a way to live together while having differences, being able to cooperate despite differences at a global scale where each one of us has a power to contribute to that, or to something constructive or negative. Each one of us has that. I think that we have to understand that, like this, that sense of interdependence, like. So that's why when we think about the compassion, we need to understand our behavior, others' behavior, and all these things in the larger context. If we can do that, as we talked the last time that we were talking about the other stanzas, remember that if the patient is acting violently under the spell of illness, what does the doctor do? Punish the patient? Hate the patient? No, that a kind doctor, understanding what is making this person violent, would want to help the person with that, what is making it violent, to relieve with that illness that's making it violent. At the same time, not say that, you are throwing these things, knives and whatever in you, that's fine, I'm compassionate. No, they will prevent them, because it hurts them, it hurts others also. So that's what I mean, that, like that when we think about when this stanza, it says that, wrong by attacking or belittling me, I will take defeat upon myself and others. It requires a tremendous shift in our perspective about our humanity, our behavior, with where people are coming from. If we can understand in that context that someone, where they're coming from, and then with our shared human condition, our interdependence like that, there could be this tender feeling towards those people, like one can have for one's child, even when they are behaving quite badly, like that. If we can come to that, then yeah, it's not impossible to give the victory to others, take the loss on one. In fact, actually, this is what, Geshe Chekawa, back in the the 12th century or so, like after Atisha's visit to Tibet, and that there was a master, when he saw this short text, and then he saw that, I will take defeat on myself and give victory to others. This master, who was also already really practicing, he said that, is that even possible? Is that real? Is that just a wishful thinking, or does it have some real, sources in the teachings, the Buddhist masters, and like that? So he went on looking for Geshe Langri Thamba, who wrote this, Geshe Langri Thamba. But unfortunately, he had passed away. But one of his disciples was alive, so he went and then asked that, this capacity to take defeat on oneself, give happily victory to others, is that really mentioned in Buddha's teachings? Where it is? And it points out in the Nagarjuna's teachings. There is a text called the Ratnavali Precious Garland by Nagarjuna, one of the great masters of the 1st century AD in India. That's where he says that Semjanala Soshimpa Dala Deta Chepansho Dala Deta Dimension Tagemale Dimensions. There is a verse in that. It said that, Nagarjuna is cultivating this aspiration that may I hold the sentient beings like as precious as my own life. Semjanala Soshimpa Dala Deta Chepansho, that may I hold them more precious than I am. That Daget Mali Dimension Dala Deta Dimension Dagi Mali Dimension. May their negative karma may ripen upon myself. Dagi Mali Dimension, my virtues and positive qualities may ripen on others. That's the exchange, beautiful exchange word. That's pointing out that. So, in other words, Lo-Jong here is primarily, remember, Lo-Jong, mind training, mind training, all the, steps that we work towards transforming, it's Lo-Jong. But particularly in this case, Lo-Jong coming from Shantideva has to do with exchanging self with others. Exchanging self with others is not like that, you are me, I'm you, not like that. It's the cherishing part, that this endearing part. That usually, we think that if there is some fruit or like that, if I eat this, if I give this, what would I eat? What would I be left? This exchanging is that if I eat, what would I give others? It's a change, and that comes from a certain that tenderness. Shantideva says that, like that. Shenla, Jina, Chichweshe, Randan Sambatis. Getedada, and that Chena, Shenla, Jina, Chichweshe, Randan Sambatis. Dagi Chena, Chichinshe, Shendan Sambatis. He said that this attitude like that. If I use it, what would I give to others? That as a parent, if you are really in a situation, there's a very little food. I experienced that from my mom. That we were poor, coming from the Himalayas, in the village, like that. Not like today. There was we grow in those days, and that's all you eat. You store it for that last over winter and the spring and like that. So there are times that, when you are making the food, the ration, they have to really measure to last long. And then so I have to remember the bread, like that. There's a little bigger bread and smaller bread. And I'm being the kid, that I want that bread, that little bigger. And my mother happily giving it to me, taking the smaller one herself. That's these kind of things. It's a real thing, that it happened, like that. This is what comes from that tenderness. Like that. And the way to develop tenderness is, His Holiness Dalai Lama presents in his books at Ethics for the Millennium, Beyond Religion. These are beautiful, beautiful books. It's just secular, not telling you become Buddhist and then you have somehow have this. No, it's basic human psychology, that you attune to our shared human condition, see the humanity in others, they become one of you. That it is that empathy. You attune to our interdependence. What I have is how others are making it possible. We don't usually think, we are so egotistic, like that usually. We just think that, yeah, I'm so smart that I can earn some money and I have it. But if there is no bakery baking food, you may have all the stacks of gold. You're not going to eat gold. That bread has to come from like that. Let's think about that, that clothing and everything that we have, it comes from others. And we have to attune to that reality, interdependence. If we can do that, it is not impossible to not only have the equalize our that tenderness, that as which tenderness we have for us to others, perhaps even others, needs to take priority. That when it comes from the greater tenderness for others. That is what the Lo-Jong is, and it's in that spirit. And then this verse 7. In brief, directly or indirectly, I will offer help and happiness to all my mothers, and secretly take upon myself all the hurt and suffering. This is Tonglen, that the Tibetan word Tonglen, giving and taking. This is what, in brief, directly or indirectly, through wish and like that. Or then when there is actually something that you can give, you make, yourself may not have that, like that. Or someone's troubles that you take in order to free others, and like that, those kind of things. It's saying that, like that this practice is taking upon ourselves their hurt and suffering and giving our happiness and well-being to others. Tonglen, giving. Tonglen, giving and taking is the expression of love and compassion. Expression of love and compassion. Love, of course, come many different forms. There is romantic love, there is love called the sympathetic love, but there is love that is part of the love and compassion, equation of love and compassion. In the equation of love and compassion, love is understood as this coming from this tenderness, wanting others to have their needs, their happiness, what their needs. Compassion, coming from that tenderness, wanting others to be relieved of their struggles. There's two sides of the same coin. These are twins, like that. That common denominator is the tenderness, precious. To what degree the other is precious to you. How precious do you feel? How much, warm-heartedly you feel about others. That's what it is. So this practice, giving and taking, it's in the real sense, genuine way, Richard Moore's father was embodying that in that particular moment, seeing a child's predicament of being blind for the rest of life. From that tenderness, relieve that struggle. Happily, he can go blind, take that. Child need to see the sight, that knowing that he will not have that, happily to give his sight, give his eyes, giving. You see that? Does that make sense? When you said that, can I give him my eyes? Do you see that it represents that dual part, that happily himself go blind in order to relieve the child from the blindness. Happily give his own sight in order for child to have the sight. Love wants to see others endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. Compassion wants to see relieved of their struggles and suffering. This is, in that brief moment, this is so pure. It's unconditional love of the parent. That's what is spontaneously leading to that giving and taking. Now, to practice, in a broader context, that's harder. So that's why that in the Lo-Jong practice, in this Lo-Jong, that one of the practices was called Tonglen, that where you are actually establishing this tender feeling towards more and more beings, tender connection, aware of that, appealing to that our shared human condition, our shared condition of wanting to be happy, to be free from suffering, and further connecting to how we benefit from others, thus unleashing in a biological condition that is the gratitude, tenderness for others. When someone is helpful, don't we feel a certain degree of warmth towards our mentors, somebody who has, helped us? Even animals feel that. That this is not humans. Bonobos, the apes, they feel. And I think I mentioned to you the other day, on the first night, the bonobos, if they were groomed by someone, another one, when they have food, they give them. First thing they should give them is somebody who groomed them earlier. Why? Because it changed the way how they feel about that somebody who groomed them. Someone even give you a nice smile, when you are really having little difficulty in a sharing, maybe you are giving a talk and like that, somebody who gives you a nod, like that. Your feeling changes. Somebody who is, like the disapproving expression that you get, it changes your feeling towards them, like that. It's something that attuning to the ways that we are benefited by others. It's a very, like that. I never thought that I will have a warm feeling for honeybees. I do like honey, that's true, but despite that, they sting, so I never thought that I would like that, until I learned that if there are no honeybees, we will not have food in 4 years. There will be famine, Now they're really, they're precious, like that. Many years ago, I was in Alaska. One of the Canadian scientists, he was talking about the salmons. Again, I never thought that I will have the warm feeling. Not that I never thought, but I never had the warm feeling, like that. First of all, in the Himalayas, there's no salmon, like that. So I'd never seen until I came to America. Until I heard him explaining that how these big dams that are being built, human-made dams in Alaska, is actually causing a real kind of danger for us, because the salmons can't go swim upwards, big dams, they can jump quite miraculously, like that. But big dams, they can't leap that fast, that high. And they end up dying in the, salt water and like that. And that's interrupting the whole cycle, like that. Because otherwise, salmon go back and they lay their eggs and like that. They are, exhausted, they die, and then the bugs eat them, and the birds eat them, and then they go fly and then go to the forest and they poop there, and then it nourishes trees, and the trees give us oxygen and keeps the ecosystem, that. One species interrupting that cycle of the salmon, the scientist was presenting that it's posing a real kind of, crisis for us, because a lot of trees in Canada were dying and like that. And now they have changed that, like that. I went to Alaska this year also, that was the thought that there are, that over the years it has changed, and the one place actually I went to see this salmon going up, that not only the dams and like that, they may have done it in a certain way, I didn't see it, but they've even created, when there's a bigger waterfall, they've created a little, the area that where the salmon can go up, so that they have to keep trying the big waterfall, trying to jump like that. So there is a great awareness, in this. But anyway, what I'm saying is that, love and compassion to a greater number of beings at that deep level where it becomes a natural, joyous way to see that if that happened to us and our happiness happened to them, that natural, like the parents for the little babies have, it is possible. That this is not so outrageous. But at the same time, it's not that easy either. So let's not be kind of so pious that we do this and then it's difficult. But the question is, little by little, can we expand, deepen our compassion and love? And then perhaps, in sometimes we can do little practice also. Because so much of this is in enacting. A lot of these are not just thinking, like it's at the deeper level where we can resonate, it does. But sometimes it's even imagining, sending out well-being, relieving others of their vulnerabilities, difficulties and like that. It actually, that if you're doing that, it changes the way how you feel, like that. So the online practice is done by visualizing you take others' suffering on you, in the like dark clouds and like that. At your chest, your own this tender, precious feeling that you hold for others is like a pot, jeweled, container. This suffering that come, that in your heart, you see that there's a pot that is our self-centeredness, I. It comes and it shatters that, transforms, that kind of transcend that self-centered just feeling. And without that, then what comes, it becomes transformed into the medicine, the healing, the happiness, and you send it out. Of course, it is a visualization, imagination. If you can do this, as deeply you can, it can. But at the same time, we need to be realistic. These are the practices. If you are really trying to do it like that, somebody's Alzheimer's, somebody's cancer, somebody's other illnesses like that, you're taking and then you're giving. It can be stressful. It can be triggering and like that. So it's This practice is recommended for advanced level practitioners, like that. You can have the aspiration, may we be able to rise to that level so that where we can take upon ourselves and give honor. Like this text says here, the prayer one, by Panchen, first Panchen Lama. And thus, O Venerable Compassionate Gurus, we seek your blessings that all karmic debts, obstacles and suffering of mother beings may without exception ripen upon us right now, and that we may give our happiness and virtues to others, thereby invest all beings in bliss, in happiness. This is at least the aspiration that you can do. Or otherwise, you can also connect to this tender feeling for, I don't know, all beings may be quite a task. But at least you can connect to the people in your family, at your workplace, in your community, whether they are nice to you or not, whether you know them personally or not, but that you can see them, you know them at your workplace like that. If you can go into that, to connecting with their humanity, the shared, and seeing in what ways we are interdependent, interrelated, that what I have, how, in what way they contribute to that. That can change our feelings. From there, then that tender feeling, we all have to do our own pace. It's not pushing, thrusting. It's not going to work. Just to a level that family members or the relatives, the co-workers, friends, and like that, gradually kind of expanding that tender feeling, bringing them into that with that tender connection. And from there, from the tenderness, you want them to see happy, you don't want to be free from suffering. So you can have that manifest as a pearl of light. That is the source of healing, source of happiness, source of healing in the sense that they elevate their suffering. Like that. As you sit that you can let this, with each in-breath, as you sit with that awareness of tender feeling and what they are struggling, what they are missing, let this urge to see them health and happiness, see them relieved of their suffering and anguish and misfortune. In that, this light, let this emanate from you, reaching them, healing their illness, bringing their happiness, instead of taking on yourself. That can be a little challenging if we are not grounded in a certain degree of the stability like that. So you can accomplish both, wanting to see them relieved from their suffering, wanting to have their health and happiness, both sending it out. Does that make sense? So let's do this briefly. We will recite first this mantra called Om Mani Padme Hum, and then we will recite this verse in English, but don't feel like you need to feel like to visualize taking in, but maybe let's not recite this. Let's just recite Om Mani Padme Hum, and then I will say a few words, guided meditation, just of Tonglen. But when you are reciting the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, again, as like the mantra of wisdom, this mantra of compassion is basically compassion and wisdom. Is basically Om Mani Padme Hum. Om, our body, speech, and mind. Mani, the jewel, which is good heart, compassion, compassionate heart. Padma, the lotus, that is, lotus is growing in the mud, but is unstained by the faults of the mud. That same thing, wisdom is unstained by the the confusions, the misconceptions and so forth. Home the union together, integrating wisdom and compassion. May we transform our body, speech and mind, so that we can be source of well-being for others. So let's recite this a few times. O mani padme ho, O mani padme ho, O mani padme ho, O mani padme, O mani padme ho, 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 O mani padme, O mani padme, O mani padme ho, O mani padme ho, O mani padme. With as deep an aspiration that we can have for bringing our compassionate heart and the wisdom together to alleviate the suffering of us and others. Just take a moment to see if there's anyone in your life that you feel with deep tenderness, relate to with deep tenderness, whether it's your child, a good friend, a mentor, or someone that maybe you're not your child, but it's a little vulnerable child, maybe of human or the animal. As you ask how you may have this tender feeling towards this particular being. Notice how it feels, that tenderness. How does that feel in your chest, that warm glow, that tender warmth, the warm feeling with which we connect with this person? With this tender connection, are you aware of this person's any struggles, predicaments? Are you aware what this person's needs are not met, unmet needs, whether it's physical, emotional, intellectual, professional, relationship, or otherwise there are certain health and so forth. And there are certain things that they are struggling with. How do you feel about that? Is there an urge with that warm feeling towards this person to see this person in good health, have those needs fulfilled? Is there a certain urge to see the person relieved of the struggles, mental, physical, or any relationship problems, or occupational or professional problems and so forth? This particular person, whatever struggles they may be struggling with, is there from that tenderness that when this person is so precious, tender to you. Does their difficulty concern you? Is there an element in wanting to see them relieved of that? Maybe do something about that if we can, to relieve their suffering, their difficulty. If there is a way for us to provide their well-being, that they need, their needs, the well-being. Let this urge, with this tender feeling, the urge to see them endowed with happiness, health, to see them relieved of their suffering, difficulties. Take a form of a pearl of light, warm, soothing, healing, right in the center of your chest. As you sit with this warm feeling towards this person, with this urge to relieve their suffering and to provide for their happiness or well-being. Each in-breath, see this grows, filling our chest, our body, as our urge, this warm healing as a source of healing, eliminating illness and other struggles, as a source of needs, resources, bringing their health, well-being, fulfillment. Let it emanate from you. Send it out to this particular person. This light soaking in this person, bringing needed health, happiness, well-being, and relieving of his or her illness, suffering, difficulties. Just take a minute or so. If we can expand this to some others, just gradually expand. Who else comes to mind that we feel certain tenderness? Our family members, our friends, or people in our communities who are vulnerable. Let this warm feeling towards them, from there this urge to see them happy and free from suffering, let this emanate from you as the source of healing, source of well-being, towards them, reaching them, filling their bodies and minds, endowing them with needed peace, happiness, well-being, and relieving them of their struggles, illnesses, and other forms of struggles. If it helps, just silently say, may you have happiness and the causes of happiness. May you be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May I help you with happiness, having happiness. May I be able to help you finding relief from your struggles and suffering. As this urge, you let it emanate from you, reaching them, bringing those needed health, well-being, and relief from their sufferings and so forth. And of course, if any degree of this we can connect with, just let's be clear that it's not easy, but with practice we can expand and deepen such tenderness towards others. And with that, the more aware we are of their struggles, their needs, our love and compassion, the wanting them happiness and freedom from their suffering, or even in some cases where we are possible to facilitate that, provide that, is possible. So let's dedicate any goodness, any merit, positive energy that unfolds from our practice here together, just working to connect this compassion and love for others, and to some degree letting it manifest in at least in our felt wishes and desires with these visualizations. Let's dedicate these merits for our love and compassion to grow, and our love and compassion in our society to flourish. Let's dedicate these positive energies for peace, healing, harmony and happiness on this earth for all beings. And let's conclude by dedicating these merits for long life and good health of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and other great masters from all traditions, all religious traditions, or those who may not be part of a religious tradition, but who are nonetheless the source of inspiration for peace, hope, compassion for many people on this earth. May all of them have good health, live long, and their altruistic aspirations for the humanity, for others, be little by little realized. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, and stay warm. See you next week. Thank you.